How productive would you be able to be if you were able to time things so that you got the right things done at the perfect time to do them? Well, welcome to the Productivity Show, a podcast where we believe you can get the important things done without sacrificing your health, your family, and things that matter to you. My name is Brooks from Asian Efficiency, where we help people become more productive at work and in life. And today is another Wisdom Wednesday episode where you'll get actionable productivity advice in less than 10 minutes. The topic today is related to the concept of peak positioning, and that is how to find the times that give you your peak levels of productivity. It's one of the skills that we teach in our 25X Productivity System course. So what do we mean by peak positioning? Well, think of your daily schedule. Even if you have busy and unproductive days, at a high level, you're waking up, you're getting ready, you're working at certain times, you're winding down, and then you're sleeping. And maybe for you, it's a quote unquote normal morning and night cycle. Maybe it's flipped, or maybe it changes back and forth from time to time. Either way, you've probably experienced those times when you've just crushed it. You just had so much energy to do what you needed to do, and you just felt like you were in flow. You honestly barely noticed the time going by. But then, of course, there's the flip side, right? There are those times that you thought, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but when you went to do them, you just could not bring yourself to do it. If you could get away with it, you would have just put your head down on the desk, or if you work from home, heck, maybe you did. We all have these situations. It's totally natural, and there are just times that we need to fight through the dead times too, right? We all have to do what we have to do. But ideally, what we want to do is tie our peak productivity times to our most important task so that we save the crushing it times for the things that really move the needle and save the, shall we say, less energetic times for that busy work and the things that require less brain power. This is where the T framework comes in, which stands for time, energy, and attention. We're going to use the T framework to our benefit. And usually when we use the T framework, it's to try to fix something, right? We're trying to find where we lack time, where we lack energy, where we lack attention. Now we're flipping that around. We're using our energy to our advantage to get the right stuff done at the right time. So this all sounds great, right? Tie your most energetic times to your most brain-intensive times. It sounds great, but how the heck do you do that? And how do you even find your peak productivity times? Well, for the most part, you can start with what we call the common cycle. For the most part, many of us have a rhythm that's pretty similar, even if our individual schedules are different. After waking up, most of us need about 90 minutes to feel really alert. And then there's a first peak. This is often a great time to get into flow state, and it lasts about 2 to 3 hours. Then after that, there's usually a bit of a dip in energy, and that dip often lasts maybe 1 to 3 hours. And then after that, we experience another 2 to 3 energy peak. This is another great time to get our focus work done. And then after that, there's generally a wind down. Now, you might not match this exactly, and of course, things like diet and sleep can impact it, of course. If you have a big, heavy lunch, that might reduce that afternoon peak. But in general, it's a good place to start. And so when you're planning your day, start by figuring out your wake-up time, and then try to time your focus blocks to those peak times. The next thing you want to do is to notice your energy fluctuations. The general schedule is a good place to start, but really the best way to figure out your peak times is to notice when you have them. The only trick here is, of course, you have to notice them. Now, you don't have to keep a full journal or anything like that if you don't want to. It's just when you're dragging, make a little note of the time and what you're doing. Write it on a piece of paper, in Notepad or Notes, in Excel or Google Sheets, whatever you normally might use to jot things down. And it's the same thing when you experience that flow state, when you're feeling really great, when you realize, oh man, this was just a great afternoon of work. Just jot it down, the time and what you did. Try that for a few weeks and then go back and look at it and see if you notice any patterns. For myself, I noticed that I almost always crashed at 2 to 3 o'clock. So now I have a little snack and then I'm good to go later in the afternoon and sometimes even into the evening if I need to. Yours is going to be different. That's totally fine. But the key, of course, is to pay attention to what's going on with your productivity. There are also apps and devices that can help with this. One Tan likes a lot is Rise Science, and we'll have a link to that in the show notes. You can check it out at risescience.com. It's a sleep tracking app, and it can let you know the peaks and valleys in your day. I do want to make a note of something though. We know that tying your peak energy times to your most important task isn't always going to be possible. But even if you can do it more often than not, that's a big win. And remember why you're doing this, right? We're not doing all this so that we have more energy to work longer. That's not the idea. Maybe it's to have more energy to be present with your friends and your family after work. Maybe it's to be able to have hobbies or play hockey or basketball in the evening or something like that. Or maybe it's to have a side hustle or learn a new skill to be able to eventually change careers. You can only do these things if you have the energy to do it, and hopefully by finding your peak productivity, you can make that happen. So to get started, begin by trying to tie your daily schedules to the common peaks and valleys, and then make a note of the energy extremes that you feel either way. And of course, probably most important, do what you can to have a good sleep most nights. Thanks so much for listening to The Productivity Show, and I'll see you next time.